ओमज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। वन्देऽहं श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं श्रीकृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधा कान्त नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। नमो महावदान्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायिने कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामिने गौरत्विषे नमः। पंचतत्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकं। श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। जन्माद्यस्य यतोऽन्वयादितरतश्चार्थेषु भिज्ञस्वराट् तेने ब्रह्म हृदय आदि कवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरयः। तेजो वारिमृदां यथा विनिमयो यत्र त्रिसर्गो मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तकुहकं सत्यं परं धीमहि। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। स्वस्ति अस्तु विश्वस्य खलः प्रसीदतां ध्यायन्तु भूतानि शिवं मिथो धिया। मनश्च भद्रं भजता दधोक्षजे आवेश्यतां नो मतिरप्यहेतुकी। Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, chapter number 4, verse number 51. And this is continuation of the dialogue, or rather statements of Lord Vishnu, who appeared to Daksha after his prayers at Adhamarsham Tirtha, when he was reciting the Hansguhya prayers. So Lord has told him that he is very pleased with him because Daksha was performing tapasya, austerities to procreate and increase the population of the world. And then he explained to him about how austerities is heart and yajna and his activities. So he spoke about his presence and existence before the creation, and then he said that he should get married and produce. So he said, Esha panchjanasya duhita vai prajapatehe ashikni nam patnikve prajesha pratigrihyatam. So you please accept this daughter of Prajapati Panchajana, whose name is Asikni, as your wife, and then produce children. So he says, Tvamapi sarvarupe patrike dharme yatah tvaityaha esha iti. So earlier he has spoken about other Prajapatis like Brahma, how they are following various activities. Brahma, he performed a lot of austerities to please the Lord before he started creation. So he said that since you are also coming in that line, because originally Daksha was son of Brahma, only in this particular life he is the son of the Prachetas. So he said that you also continue your family tradition, taking the job of Prajapati. मिथुना व्यवाय धर्मस्त्वं प्रजासर्गम इमं पुनः मिथुना व्यवाय धर्मिण्याम भूरिशो भाविष्यसि. And says that you engage in union with your wife and in this way you create. So he says that this way you will be able to create more. In other words, if he just wants to create through the mind, then these people who will be born, they will not create further. Like they create these days seed, company Monsanto produces seed, you buy, and then there are no more seeds from that. So this way you cannot create more seeds. But if you produce from your wife, then they will only have natural tendency to also get married and produce. Because if the samskaras are going to the children. If you produce through the mind, then they are mental cases. So they will also be smart enough not to get into this business of creation. So that's why I said that you will get married. So Mithunasya Stri Punsyoryo Vyavaha Rati Saiva Dharmo Yasya Sattva. So he says that your dharma is to engage in union with your wife and produce. This is his specific duty assigned to him. And that's what Prajapati means. Tatha bhutayam tasyamiti tadrisha hans guhyatvena stutena api datta nija shri murti darshana prasadayapi updishta nija tattva api दक्षो भगवतायत कर्म मार्ग गम्ये विषय भोगे निस्सीम के निक्षिप्तो न तो स्वप्रेमामृत सिंधु. So now he makes a very important observation here, that Daksha was a person who performed austerities for a long time. He prayed to the Lord in the Hansguya prayers, where all the essence of the Lord was described. And then Lord appeared to him. So Daksha had the personal vision of the Lord. And then Lord also explained to him about his own reality. Aham asameva agra. He said, I existed before the creation and I will also exist after the creation. And of course he was existing in front of him during the creation. So he explained all this to Daksha, and yet, having done all this, he is throwing him into this network of sense enjoyment and not giving him his love. So this is very mysterious. But why he is asking, and specifically he is telling that you should create with your wife. He is not asking that you engage in pure devotion, and that is the purpose of life. He is asking him to create. So why is it? For this Vishnu Chakrati makes a very important point. He says, Tat khalu swa mahabhakta Sri Rudra aparadha shesvasya abhanguratvena hetuna gamat. From this it is understood that this is the effect of some remnants of the offences which Daksha has created against Lord Shiva, who is a great devotee of Lord Vishnu. So we have read that story earlier in the fourth book, how Daksha has offended Shiva openly in the assembly, criticized him and called him obnoxious and unclean, does not know the behavior, does not know etiquettes, all types of charges he put against Shiva. And Lord Shiva, he just kept quiet, did not utter one word. And then he just left the place. And finally Shiva's wife Sati, she was also insulted by Daksha, and she committed suicide. She burnt herself on the fire generated from her own body. And she was daughter of Daksha, because Shiva was also son-in-law of Daksha. So later on, of course, they all went and pacified Shiva. Daksha's head was cut off and then he was revived on the prayer of the Devas, and he was given a goat head. So although it seems that Daksha, he prayed to Shiva and his offense was forgiven, but still he must have kept some grudge against Shiva inside. Because sometimes you make a mistake and maybe because of social pressure or because of your own situation you go and ask for forgiveness. But inside you feel some rebellious attitude. You have that rebellious nature or you are not happy. So you do it externally, but inside you don't really feel that way. So he says that although he had asked for forgiveness from offense, but he is not free from it. And offense is the biggest obstacle to love of God. So he says it is for this reason that Lord did not give him love. And told him, okay, continue in your pravritti marg, path of attachment. So there is a path of attachment and there is a path of detachment. So he is still making him function in the same path. And he is not talking about devotion or anything. So that's why we have to be very careful about offense along with our practice. Otherwise it will not bear fruit. Because offense is, the very word offense means which is displeasing. And if you want grace of God, then you cannot get that if you are displeasing Him. So the biggest displeasure of God is if someone displeases his devotee. He is not so much displeased if someone displeases him directly, but he is very displeased if somebody displeases his devotee. So then he is really offended. Because he loves his devotees. So this is what he brings out the point. Ateva anantaradhyaye Sri Munindrenapi Vishnu Maya Brindita iti akhyasya mano daksho naradamapi akshepsyati iti punarapi asya mahada pradaphalashyati. He says this is the reason that in the next chapter you will see that he will also criticize Narada, who is again another great devotee of the Lord. And not only he will criticize him, but he will curse him. So he says this is again his offensive mentality manifesting. So if we commit offense and we don't clean it completely, that means that some traces remain and those traces will make you make offense more and more. So that's what happened in case of Daksha. So he's giving these two proofs why Daksha has three traces of offense. That number one, Lord did not give him his ultimate, because the ultimate blessing of Lord is prema, not even liberation. Like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim, kavitam vajagdesha kame, mama janmani janmanishwari, bhavatam bhakti rahit kito. Says, I don't want followers, I don't want wealth, I don't want beautiful women, I don't want capability to write poetry or become a big speaker, but all I want is causeless devotion, which means love to you, birth after birth. So when he says birth after birth, means I don't want even mukti. So he says, I don't mind if I have to take more births here, if I am a devotee. So therefore a devotee's prayer is only this, that he wants devotion and nothing else. So that we have to understand. So in this particular case, he was not given this. Lord should have said. Daksha also did not ask for it. He was only also asking that he has to follow this duty of creator. So that's why he says that he will again commit the offense. Great offense to Narada. So we don't know what happened to him after that in this birth. So one can then question that why are you making such a conclusion? We see that Kardama, he also did austerities for procreation. And Lord came to him and he blessed him. And Lord also told him that Manu will come with his wife Satrupa and give his daughter Devhuti to you in marriage. Just like here he's saying you marry a Satrupa. But there he told him that after that he will leave this. And although Kardama also enjoyed for a long time, he had his own plane and he was traveling. But when Kapila was born, he left everything and he entered. So both cases seem similar, at least as far as the duty is concerned. Both are actually Prajapatis, both created for me, both got the vision of the Lord, both did austerities for that. But one took to devotion, another remained in the path of karma. And after seeing the Lord. So this is because of the offense. So unless one becomes free from the offense, there is no possibility of love. So that's why one has to be careful. So he says, Nacha kardamo api bhagavata vishya bhogeva nikshipta iti vachi. He says, therefore one should not say that even Kardama was forced or he was thrown into sense pleasures. Because he also married and he had a lot of opulence. We read this in third canto. He was traveling all over the universe on his own private rocket with all the best facilities in it. Yet he was renounced and he was absorbed in thoughts of the Lord, so much that actually Lord himself appeared. Lord Kapila appeared as son of Kardama. Tasya isat sakamatvam alaksheva bhagavata savdhika eva vishya bhoga varodatta natu niravadhika. So seeing that Kardama had very little desire for enjoyment, so he was given little enjoyment, not unlimited, unending. But Daksha is given unending, so this remains in the ocean of pleasure, material pleasure. Yaduktam tatraiva Tvamcha samyag anusthaya nidesham mevu sattama Mai tirthi krita sesa kriya dho mam prapatsasi. So as it was said there that after following my order properly, then you will give up everything and attain me. So there Lord has directly said that you will get out of it, don't worry, and then you will come to me. So this is the distinction between these two. Sacha kardamopi anugrahaya astu ityadina bhaktimeva ante prarthyamasa. So Kardama, he has also prayed for bhakti. That let your grace be on me. He did not pray that let me go on producing. He prayed that may I have your blessings. Evam sakamapi sarvaiva bhakta dhruvadev bhaktimeva achangshurev. He says therefore there are other devotees who had material desires to begin with. But after seeing the Lord, they all prayed for bhakti. So as in the case of Dhruva, the young boy Dhruva, he also performed austerity to take boons from the Lord so that he get a kingdom better than his father. Because his father had insulted him, or rather his stepmother had insulted him and the father did not say anything. So he was so upset that he wanted to take revenge. With that intention, he prayed and he meditated and fasted on the Lord, and finally Lord appeared. But when the Lord appeared, then he recited beautiful prayers to him, and then he didn't ask for this boon. He said that please give me your devotion. Why? Because he did not have any offenses on his head. If he had offenses, then he would have also asked for the same thing. And although he did not ask for kingdom anymore, still the Lord gave him the kingdom. And when Lord left him, he thought that he has been cheated. He thought, what is this? I am bringing this piece of glass. I should have asked for transcendental gem, and here I have this little shiny piece of glass, this kingdom which he was given. So he did not feel happy that he has to rule. That means he became renounced. So this is the difference between him and other such devotees and Daksha. Daksha's prayer we have, but he is not asking anything like that. He is simply saying that let my wish be fulfilled. That's all. And the Lord also did not say that he should have devotion or he will give up all this and come to me. So this is the influence of the past offense. And that offense will make him do more offense. Because whatever is one's mentality, that continues. So keep on doing offense more and more. That's why Krishna says, Tanaham duste kururam samsare sunaradhamai shipami yadasram subhan asurusya yanis. And those who are asuras means offenders, and krur, they are cruel, and dusta, envious. So he says they perpetually throw them into such births. So in that mentality, it's a very difficult thing to get out from one type of mentality. Because we don't change our nature easily. We don't like to change it. Even after knowing that I should change, we revert back to that. And then we say, well, this is my nature. That's how I am. So that is okay, but then you remain in it. So So spiritual life, spiritual practice means that you get out of it. The only way to get out. So we don't have to take excuse of the nature, like this is my nature, no problem, I continue. Then the sadhana is not going to do much. And obviously in the material world everybody has this offensive mentality without fail. There may be some rare examples like Ajamila. Otherwise everybody has this in different quantities. And this is the reason that we don't like to give it up. And we continue with the same routine. So intelligence is to make an effort to get out of it. Esha buddhi matam buddhi, manisha cha manisham. Krishna says that this is the only use of intelligence. You can use your intelligence in so many ways. Make money, have followers, create an empire, become great leader, scientist, poet, inventor, sportsman. So all types of things you can do with your intelligence. But he says that is not good use of intelligence. So this the real use of the wisdom of a wise person is that you get out of this cycle. So he says that is the proper use and benefit of taking human birth. Otherwise go on going out. No problem. No one is going to come and bother you. Because material nature is quite vast. So you can continue. A lot of facility given, a lot of field to work. Go ahead. So he says that even if you have material desires, that is alright, but don't be offensive. Material desires can be removed, they can be purified, but the offense will keep you bound. So this is a very important message of Bhagavatam. These stories, the way they are written and how they are built up, they have to teach what is love and also what is contrary to it, what is an obstacle to it, what creates problem on the path of love. So both are being taught here. So that is the message in between the lines of the story. So stories are nice, they are entertaining, but that is the message which we have to read. So Daksastu ajam bhaktim na kankshati. So he says Daksha, he did not ask for bhakti. If you read the prayers of Prahlad, prayers of Dhruva, prayers of Kardama, all these people who had darshan of the Lord, you see, and many more, Dhruva or Brahma's prayers in the 10th Canto. So Daksha is a special case that he did not ask for bhakti. So because his intelligence is foggy, there is a lot of smoke around his intelligence which is covering bhakti. Like some little cloud comes and it covers the sun. It's not that the sun is covered by the cloud, it's our vision which becomes covered. But sometimes people think, how can aparadh be bigger than bhakti? How can it be? Because bhakti is very powerful. Love of God is very powerful. It's energy of God Himself. So how can an offense block it? It's doubt raised sometimes. So just as sun is very powerful, and it is the cause for clouds, and then the same cloud, which is a creation of sun, can cover the sun. Eyes also see because of the sun, and the cloud is created by the sun, and then the eye is covered and cannot see the sun because of the cloud. So offense is something like that. But many times people think it is not possible that bhakti can be blocked by it. No, it is possible. Sri Rupa Goswami says that bhavopi bhava mayati Krishna prashta parāti. That even bhava can disappear. If one does offense to Krishna prashta, those who are devotees of Krishna or those who are dear to Krishna. So this is possible. Because it's a matter of just covering or not acting. Bhagavanapi tam na dadau. So he says that neither Daksha asked for it, nor Bhagavan gave it. He is not asking, he is not giving. Sometimes Lord gives without asking. Cases that He gives. We read that verse, that Ichchapidhanam Sapadam. That Lord, people go to Him asking for material things. What Lord does is that He gives them His bhakti so that they don't ask for anything more, otherwise they keep on troubling. So satyam visati artham arthito nrinam naivathado yat punararthitayata swayam vidatte bhajtam anichchatam ichchapidhanam padakaram. So it is a fact that Lord gives what devotee asks to Him. But you ask, and then you come and you ask again, and you ask again. So He says this guy will keep on bothering him. So He gives him one thing, that no more asking. And that is He gives His devotion. Because once you have love for God, then everything else loses significance. It is so great. Instead of asking something from God, you get God Himself. So who is greater, God or something He gives? The owner is always more than what he owns. So if God is giving you something which He owns, then it is not very intelligent to ask Him for some things like that instead of asking Him. So love means that you have God. And then you have everything, so there is no need to ask Him. But here, Daksha, he did not ask, and Lord did not give, and he did not give because he is not so pleased in Daksha. He appeared only because he is following the karma marga properly. And therefore, just like a formal visit. This is not a visit because of love. You go and visit somebody because you love somebody, you feel happy to go and see that person. And then is that you just go formally because you have to do it. You're not really so keen. Sometimes you get invitation. I get invitation for some programs here all the time. So mostly I avoid, sometimes I have to go. I'm not really keen to go. But in some places I may like to go if they are devotees. I'm happy to be there. So Lord goes to people like Daksha, not that he is controlled by their love or anything like that. He's just an official visit. Because in the Vedas he has given a procedure And if you do like this and you chant prayers like this or you recite mantras like this, then he will manifest it. But there is no feeling in the heart. So this is the vision like this. So therefore seeing God itself is not the greatest thing. Greatest thing is to have love of God. Then even if you don't want to see God, He will appear to you. Because love is what He is attracted to. He is the most attractive, but love is one thing which attracts Him also. So therefore we should ask for that which attracts even God. Because then there is nothing remaining.
But why God is attracted by love? He is complete and full in love Himself. Why?
That is the nature of love. That is the very characteristic of love. That's what we are also attracted to. And you say, why are you attracted? It's nature of that. That is the quality of love, that it attracts everybody, including God.
So it's pretty much like human.
Yes. Yes.
Because we always talk about, as you mentioned, that he is attracted by love, and he really offended when his devotees get offended. And there is also talk about enemies of God. How can God have enemies?
Enemies means those who are troubling His devotees. You see, this is the whole love psychology.
Yeah.
So there are two understandings of God. One is that God is very great, He has no desires, He is unbiased.
Yeah.
So that is the Paramatma God.
Yeah.
And there is a human God beyond that, which people do not know. That's what Bhagavatam is talking about. There is a special aspect of God which is not known to most people. And I don't think it is known in any other religion or culture. Maybe a little bit, but not to this extent. So, and it is difficult to understand, because when you start hearing this, you think that He is not God, He is just like any other human being.
Exactly.
It's a fact. He acts like a human being because He is not God anymore. He doesn't feel like God. He feels like a lover. And lover has all types of psychology. So his psychology is the love psychology.
But I have a question here actually. You see, you said that there is this logic that you love God because He is the most perfect, the most beautiful, the most powerful, etc., etc. But on the other hand, there is the love of Christ, who loved people who are not perfect, who are miserable, who are totally imperfect and suffering, and still love, and it was divine love. So how it's easy to love something that is perfect.
But He loved because He loved God. He was not loving human beings because they are human beings. He actually loved God. And because human beings belong to God, that's why He loved them. Not independently. So this is again, you will not understand Jesus Christ unless you know this. And people don't understand Jesus Christ properly. They think He sacrificed His life for human beings. He did not. He sacrificed Him for God. That's why He said, when He was put on the cross, first He said, why this is being done to me? But then He said, no, this is God's will. He said, let Thy will be done. So then only He became Christ. Before that He was only Jesus. But now He is with God. So He is sacrificing for the will of God. So this is what I was speaking other day also, that there is a difference between social welfare and welfare which is done from God's point of view. It looks same. A common person will see absolutely no difference between it. Because the difference is not in the action but in the awareness, in the consciousness. And that most people have no idea how to distinguish consciousness of one who is doing the social welfare and the consciousness of one who is actually acting on the principle of love of Lord. And these are two separate things, although similar, looking similar. It's like you have the real flower and then we have artificial flowers. They look very much similar. It's very difficult to distinguish. And you can also put artificial fragrance in it. But they are very much different from each other. So that is the difference. So that's why we have to study this, to understand this difference. Otherwise, if you don't know this, you read Daksha's prayers, and you read Dhruva's prayers, and you read Prahlad's prayers, they will look all same to you. You will say, what is the difference? But actually there is a great difference between Daksha and Dhruva and Prahlad. There is a very great difference. So that's what he is pointing out here. So he said, iti etadeva aparadha shesasya astitve lakshanam. So he says this actually is the indicator that Daksha was not free from offense. So what is the indicator? That Lord did not give him bhakti. Neither Daksha himself was inspired to ask for it, nor Lord was inspired to give it. Both were not inspired. If he was free from offense, then either he himself would have been inspired for it, and if he somehow was not inspired, then Lord will give him. Because he wants to give to such a person. So that is a very important message, that unless we are free from offense, we will not get bhakti. Even if Lord comes and stands in front of you somehow. But if we are free from offense, then bhakti is there. Just one name is enough. So that is the thing. And also from this verse it is understood that up till now the creation was being done through the mind. So most people were just creating babies in the laboratory. And from now onwards, from Daksha onwards, the trend changes. So this is the stage of evolution where production begins with sexual union. So in the species also we have many species which produce by themselves and then sexual union. So here also, till now, it continued like this. Just by the sankalpa, by their thought process, they will produce. But that way you don't produce much. Because what is the use? What is the need? And then they don't produce further who are produced. So now Lord said that produce more, and then everybody will engage in karma, more yajna, more sacrifice, more chanting of the Vedic mantras, everybody feels happy. Right? So then we have the last verse of this chapter. It says, Tvatto adhastat praja sarva mithunu bhuya maya madiyaya bhavishyanti parishyanti. Actually, Lord himself is saying this. He says from now onwards, from you downwards, all the population will be produced through sexual union. No more mental production. Stops there. And Madhya Bhavishyanti, Harishyanti says all these people, they will be produced and they will all offer oblations to me. So it means they will all be engaged in the work of karma as prescribed in the Vedas. So in the olden days, people used to follow the Vedic injunction of doing the yajnas and performing big sacrifices, doing daily yajnas, agnihotra, dars, purnmas, and every full moon day and no moon day, and then chaturmas yajna, 4 monthly, and then yearly yajna, somyag, and then some special ones, rajasuya yajna, sumya yajna. So these were the various types of yajnas traditionally which were performed in India. To the recent times when kings were ruling, certain percentage of their income was reserved for doing such types of activities like Kumbh Mela. Now the sadhus are making their camps. Now if you have been to Kumbh Mela, they distribute food. In the olden days it is kings who used to do that. Because in the olden days sadhus were not having ashrams like you see now and collecting money. Sadhus are mostly renounced people. They just lived here and there in the caves, under the trees, and traveled. So kings used to make annakshetra and distribute food. Now there are no more kings, so sadhus have become kings, therefore they are called Maharaj. Yes, Prahlad Maharaj. So now sadhus are called Maharajas, right? Maharaja means a great king.
Is it because of spiritual wealth, Maharaj?
Because of material wealth also. Sadhus have a lot of wealth now, isn't it? They're building big ashrams, big temples, right? A lot of opulence, more than householders. So they are the real Maharajas.
Well, where do they get money from?
They get money from their disciples.
But they are detached, so that's okay.
I don't know. Whether they're detached or not. You also know actually.
See, maybe there are small numbers, a few that really, have that many disciples and that much money. I think the rest have nothing, because we just cannot have enough followers for each single.
Yeah, of course. So everybody is not a Maharaja like that. Some are big Maharajas. There are some little ones trying to be. So Sri Shuka Vacha, and this is the concluding verse spoken by Sukadeva Goswami. Iti yuktva mistastasya bhagavan vishwabhavanah swapnopulabdharthaiva tatraivantarvade harihi. After saying this, then the Lord, who is the creator of the universe, while Daksha was looking, then he just disappeared right there, like a dream. It's like you are dreaming and suddenly you wake up and the show is over. Like that he was seeing, and then he saw him moving away, and then he just disappeared. He vanished into thin air. Because that is the meaning of avatar. He's there. He just becomes visible to your eyes. So then he just became invisible. So this was the description of Daksha how he performed his austerities for the purpose of creation, and how the Lord appeared to him and Lord blessed him to have a nice wife, which is also a very good fortune at present, right? To have a wife with whom you can live without much hassle, and vice versa, to have also a husband like that. So Daksha was fortunate to get a very nice wife, and you will see how he will produce a lot of children, 11,000 sons, and all very well behaved. So that we will read in the next class.
So Maharaj, so offense is very much obstacle to discharging devotional service. And Daksha did so much austerity, but he could not get rid of that offensive mentality. So we have also offensive mentality. So what is the best way to get rid of that offensive mentality?
Just give it up.
Just give it up. I see.
Simple. You have to make a resolve in your mind that I don't want to offend, I don't want to commit offenses. Of course, you have to know what are the offenses and not do them. And not only that you don't do them, but not have this idea that this nature, the tendency to do it. That is important. Sometimes you can avoid, but you have the tendency to do it. So then tendency will become manifest sooner or later.
Isn't there still a difference between, there's sometimes offense is defined as displeasing somebody,
Yes.
and then you have, a list of offenses, nama aparad and seva aparad and the whole thing. So, in dealing with persons, lists are quite limited. And then comes in this thing pleasing. You cannot please a person all the time, isn't it? I mean, in practical life.
So therefore, at least don't displease. That is the meaning of avoiding offense. Pleasing is difficult. I agree with you, but at least avoid displeasing.
So at least one should have a mentality of, I don't want to displease, but if it somehow other...
And then you cannot help. But we should not have the tendency or nature to displease anybody. That's very important.
And I have another question. We were speaking earlier in the class about spiritual life meaning to change one's nature.
Yes.
Now Bhagavad Gita came to my mind where Arjuna wanted to become a sadhu, to really change his nature, and Krishna,
No, he was not changing his nature.
Krishna said, you can't do this because you have this, you're conditioned by your kshatriya.
He was not making any plan to change his nature. It's just that at that time, because you have a prominent nature which fluctuates. So when you are in your normal mood, your normal nature is manifest. But sometimes you get angry. Now getting angry is not your permanent nature. Not that you are always angry. So that's a modification in your nature temporarily. Now at that time, if you make a decision, when you are in an angry mood, when your anger goes away, then you have to suffer for that decision, because when you are in the normal mood, this decision is not going to match, because it was taken in a different mood. So that's what Krishna is saying, that don't take a decision when you are in an abnormal mood, not in your normal mood. I'm giving the example of anger because you all experience it. So he was in the mood of dejection, because of attachment, and at that time he wanted to become a sadhu. So Krishna is saying that you will not remain in this mood for very long, because it was not that he was in some kind of permanent depression. He became depressed for a short period, which will change, but that's not his nature. So when this depression goes away, then what will you do? Again he would like to fight. But now since he has left his duty where he is supposed to fight, he will fight in the ashram. Right? Because that nature will come out. That's what he's saying.
And you also said, one cannot even change one's nature
No,
by
I didn't say
sadhana.
that I didn't say that you cannot change. I said it is difficult. I was saying that sadhana is actually meant for changing. I did not say that you cannot change. I said this is the purpose of sadhana. This is how the sadhana should be done. But we don't make an effort like that. We do sadhana mechanically and think that it will change. It does not work like that. That's what Rupa Goswami says, that sadhana ghai ranasanghai alabhya suchiradapi. That if you do sadhana, auga means so many, like a flood of sadhanas. You are doing many practices. You are doing parikrama, you are chanting, you are doing puja and all types of things. But mechanically. So it says bhakti is alabhya. It's not available. Bhakti is alabhya means your nature is not going to change. Suchiradapi, even you do it this practice for a very long time. 10 years, 15 years, 20, 30, 40 years, we have seen it. Right? So nothing happens.
So is it then due to offense or due to performing the sadhana mechanically?
No, that we have to see a particular example, case. And individual is different. It's not general thing. Everybody is not same.
Yeah, but isn't it?
But mostly it is both, because people don't understand, they don't make any effort to understand, and then naturally they commit offense. That's why it is to be understood.
So you would say this tendency or this possibility or whatever to become mechanical in one's sadhana is caused by offense or is due to offense?
Maybe due to offense. Offenses obviously make you lose interest in things, and then you may just do it mechanically.
Is it not just natural? If you don't make effort and you repeat something, becomes mechanical unless you really...
No, that's why I'm saying it is maybe natural, and that what you are calling as natural, I'm saying it is actually an outcome of offense. That is little bit different analysis. It looks natural, obviously, I'm not doubting. That natural thing is also unnatural. That's why we can give it up.
So it's a question of liking. If you do your sadhana with liking,
Yes.
you take pleasure in it. If it inspires you,
Right.
then you
And
can.
if you don't have liking, then at least you have to desire to have it. Do that awareness. Not that I will just finish it off. And I'm happy.
Wondering, where is offense exactly? Because there are two parties. So when offense is committed, the source of the problem is one person. Maybe you see it's difficult because maybe you don't think you're committing offense, but the other party thinks you're committing offense, and vice versa. So where the
So
offense is
both are possible. Works both ways. Sometimes you don't commit offense and other one thinks that is also offense. But don't worry about that, because that's not in your hands. So bother about what you can control. Somebody is getting offended without you consciously trying to offend or knowingly trying to offend somebody, or you are even having an idea that this is going to offend somebody, then what can you do about that? But when you know, that should be easy. Avoid it.
So in that case, it's not an offense.
No, I'm
If you're
saying
not-
it is possible that even then it can be an offense. But what can you do? You don't even know it is an offense.
But you'll suffer because of
Then
it.
you will still suffer. But what I'm saying is that don't worry about that, because if you start worrying about this, then you will worry unnecessarily. You worry about that about which you can do something. Something which you don't even know whether it is creating offense or not creating offense, whether something, what will you do? Then you will unnecessarily speculate and you will do nothing. Okay?
Jiva is Tadasa Shakti,
Yes.
and it is said Jiva never fall down from Vaikuntha.
Yes.
And so actually, where Jiva come from, like Mahavishnu's body, or like where?
Since you have been always here, there is no question of coming from anywhere.
Always here. Means material world.
Yes. Anadi. Therefore it is called Anadi Baddha.
Yeah.
Means Baddha means bound, Anadi means beginningless. There is no beginning. Jiva itself has no beginning. It is without birth or death. And its bondage also has no beginning. So it's not coming from anywhere.
Here. Sometimes difficult to understand, here.
Within material.
Material creation. Within the material creation.
Yes.